anyway, so I'm working with these groups, and I get a call one night from Ron Johnson, who I knew as a publisher. And I didn't realize he was a recording engineer as well at Electric Lady, Jimi Hendrix's studio. And I used to see Jimi Hendrix quite frequently at Steve Paul's The Scene down in the 50s, back in the late 60s, in the 50s on the street. And he was working with Eddie Kramer, who later produced Kiss, the Kiss Alive album, and they set up Electric Lady Studios. I had to work with Kramer with J.F. Murphy and Salt for Elektra Records. So I get a call one night from Ron Johnson. He says, Lou, I've got this new group here, 5-piece pop rock group, and I'm doing some demos with them, but they need management. Would you be interested? And I said, sure, Ron, I'd love to. He says, on down. So I finished my dinner. I was living on West 69th in Central Park West. And I jumped on the 8th Avenue subway. I guess it's AA. And I took a ride down to Clavio and went in, and he introduced me to the group. He introduced me to the piano player, and guitar player, and rhythm guitar player by the name of Stan Eisen, and a bass player by the name of Gene Klein, and a couple of the other guys, and they played some tunes for me. And to be honest with you, they weren't very good. I didn't care for them. So I thanked everybody very much for inviting me, and I said, it's not for me. I left. Well, I thought that would be the end of it. I start getting calls from Gene and from Stan. Lou, please come and hear us again. We really want you to be our manager. Please come and help us. I said, well, guys, it's not really for me. Then I get a call from Ron. He says, Lou, we just hired a new guitar player by the name of Ronnie Lujack, who's a big, well-known guitar player in the area, and the band sounds different. They've got new material. Why don't you come down and take another listen? I said, okay. So I went down, listened to it again, and this time they were quite good. So I said, fellas, what a change. Really, really nice. I would be happy to work with you as your manager. So I signed them. And so I signed them. Now, at that, and by the way, just it's funny, all these years later, here are Gene Klein's and Stanley Eisen's management contracts right here, signed by them. So, back in early 72. So we start to work together. They want the name of the group to be Wicked Lester. So then Ron tells me that he's been talking with Don Ellis at Epic Records, talk about a deal. And I said, well, would you like me to take over? Now that I'm managing the band, I'd be happy to take over. He said, yes. So I went to see Don Ellis, the head of Epic Records, and I negotiated with him and with my lawyer, Dan Snadowski, who later became the owner of The Bottom Line. He founded The Bottom Line, my lawyer, but not at that time. It was a year later. But in 72, I took with Lester to Stanley, signed him up with him, and Stanley and I went to Epic, and we negotiated a very nice 5-year contract for Wicked Lester with Epic Records. So then, the band is working with Ron, and they're developing material. We got a nice advance from Epic Records at the time, good deal of money, distributed it to the members. And Ron finally finishes the album. And I gotta tell you, I thought it was quite good. It was a pop rock album. That's what Wicked Lester was. Folk pop rock. And I thought it was quite good. I heard a couple of singles. So we're all done the album. We're all excited to get this album done and released. And we called Don Ellis and say, we're ready to show you the album. He says, great, come up to the office. So we all come up to the office, the whole band, and Ron, and he brings the tape with him. Everything was on tape then. And he brings the tape up, and I can, as I'm talking to you, I'm sitting in the office to Don Ellis's right, in front of me, the band, and Ron Johnson, and he walks over to the left here and puts the tape on the tape player. The album starts, and we're all listening and listening and listening, and the album finishes the last tune. And Don says, "Everybody, I'm sorry to tell you, I do not like it. I am not going to release it." We couldn't believe it. Can you imagine this? A year's Ron working with the group for months putting this together, and Don Ellis says, "No way, no release, I hate it." Well, I gotta tell you, here we are. We were all excited to be in the office there, and here we are walking out into the hallway, and everybody's heads are down. We don't know what to say. I say to the guys, "Fellas, I don't know what to say except I'll have to find you a new label because the album is excellent." So we go down and we leave Epic Records. I'm ready to start looking for a new label when I get a call. One last thing. I said to myself, before I can look for a new label, I got to get them off of Epic. So I called Don the next day and I said, "Don, you're a friend of mine. We've worked together. Would you do me a personal favor? Release the group from their contract, but let them keep the advance money." He said, "Okay." So I went up to the office and I got the release from Epic Records. Now I'm ready to shop them to another label.